run the world. We're gonna stop. We're gonna slow
E-
down for a second. So
Exactly.
I got a
Got
thumbs
it.
up from my AV in the background. So
Okay.
kudos. So we good.
Did he
Um,
get any of that? Or do we need to start? Hopefully,
you
if
know
he
what?
do.
I don't know. We'll find out when it gets published, and if so, then we'll see what happens. But I was told that we should be good. So let's just
Okay.
keep it moving. But I mean, if you all did not hear, we had a mini great detail about like just our encounters and friendships and things like that, and we talked about how we met. And of course, I'm just gonna reiterate real quick, but Andrea and I met through a different organization. It's called Women in Aviation, and it's the DC chapter. And we were basically talking about how you don't have to just affiliate yourself with one organization. You could definitely spread your wings across several organizations, especially if you're in STEM. There's so many organizations that can help you.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I'm not only in AWISDC, but I'm also in WAI for the DC chapter, and I'm also in APHA, which is an international organization, and it branches all of the remnants of public health associations within it. And so we do global efforts, and I do a lot of political kind of like policy endeavors and things like that in that organization. So hopefully the audio was okay, and it goes ahead and it uploads to the channel. But I mean, hey, if you want to start over, we can start over, Andrea. This is our game plan.
I think we're good. I would like to reiterate, as you did. One of the things I was saying was how appreciative I was for your invitation, inviting me to your new speaker series. When
Yes.
you reached out to me several weeks ago and told me what your vision was for the DC chapter of the Women in Science, I immediately stopped everything that I was doing, and I said yes to your request because I am busy. And I told you the other night, I said, Amber, you better be glad I love you because I am squeezing the turnip dry trying to do all this stuff you're asking me to do. But it is absolutely my pleasure. I love the vision you have for this speaker series. The young lady that you had on your initial show, and now you've given me the opportunity to come and just talk turkey with you about science and technology and
Yes.
engineering and all things STEAM
Geek
related.
out engineering, science, math, tech.
We love it. Love
We
it. This
love
is our
all of
passion.
it.
So
Yep.
we love all
So
of it.
you'll
So
see
thank
how
you very much.
enthusiastic. You like,
Yes,
no problem. Like I need my geeky people on my platform for
I'm
sure.
telling you.
Um
I'm telling
so just in case, I'll go back and reiterate my stuff so y'all know how my credentials line up and why I'm on this platform to begin with. So I'm president-elect of the Association for Women in Science for the DC chapter. I am a multidisciplinary scientist. I have gone through everything, S, T, E, A, and even M, because I was actually studying to be a physician at one point in my life. But things take pivot. That's okay. We pick up where we can, right? I not only work in intelligence and information operations in the military as a 22-year ongoing veteran, but I also am a cybersecurity SME, and I'm working on a technology doctoral degree program. So I also have, footings in public health as well. And I've also been in the financial sector. I mentioned those two things. Aside from the fact that I'm a part of AWIS DC, I'm also a part of American Public Health Association in the epidemiology section, and I hold a governing counselor role there, where we deal with policy and we see things to the Capitol Hill. We put our stamp of approval on it, and we see all things public health, whether they be emergent and infectious disease or something as normal as kids having a playground and having elements of a recess to clear their brains from all of the studying and activity during the day. So we see a plethora of things in there. Let's see. Aside from that, I have about 10 years of engineering, project management, and space medicine epidemiology from NASA Johnson Space Center, from my hometown, Houston, Texas. And I also have some time and elemental, stability in the scientific cybersecurity element as well here in the DMV. So Just so you know, when I talk to, individuals on the platform, I actually have some expertise in it and I can actually talk and ask these questions with some capability. Um, so, of course, we work with people in no particular order: STEAMM, showcasing specialties from all of these categories and feature women here in the United States. And we also do global interactions. So, you will see individuals from here, from other organizations, other countries as well, because I think that the outreach is there, and we have some phenomenal guests coming. No bag to anybody that has been on previous, but we try to keep getting these same phenomenal level women on this platform. So I have been fortunate, and of course, you see Miss Andrea Plowright, to have her on this platform to make sure that we incorporate multidisciplinary scientists and technologists. So I'm going to give you a little bit about Andrea's background so we know what she does, where she comes from, and why she's on our platform today. So Andrea Plowright, representing information technology and science, is a powerhouse, claiming the dynamics of business management, quality assurance, organizational performance, and process improvement, and cybersecurity across a genre of sectors. Okay. But that's not all. She is an aviator. This lady actually flies planes. And if you haven't noticed in the background on Andrea's, it is literally Andrea on the background photo in the
Me,
cockpit right there. I'm pointing, but I'm
it's
pointing
me.
at her. That is her. so um so yes, she's an aviator, and she is currently a student pilot. She is working on, well, let me back up a second. She completed a cross country flight piloting her very own Cessna 172 Hawk XP, and I swear I got it right
Yeah,
that time. I did.
you did.
Okay,
You did.
I
You
did.
did.
Yay me. So yes, from Phoenix, Arizona to Manassas, Virginia. I mean, that's not that is not to be taken lightly. That is literally across country. Her
Yes.
journey is a testament to the innovation and leadership emerging from the next generation of women in STEAM. Andrea is a proud North Carolina Agriculture and Technology State University. You got your
Aggie
call sign?
Pride.
Okay, because I was
Aggie
about to say
Pride.
I'm about the
Aggie,
coog, so I will shameless plug
Aggie
all day.
Pride.
And she has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and is the president and CEO of Plowright International LLC, which is a minority woman-owned information technology management consulting firm with headquarters in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So if you're looking for Andrea and you're looking for all things
I'm
scaled
here.
business for cybersecurity, here's another shameless plug. She's got it. She's got it up. So
Here.
Andrea is certified with a professional, well, she has certifications out the yin yang, but let's just talk about this. She has her project management professional or PMP licensing, and she's also certified in CMMI, lead appraiser for development and services. She's an internal auditor. She has her ISO 27000 colon 2013 internal auditor certification, as well as CMMC registered provider, and she's a subject matter expert in cybersecurity. I mean, whatever she does not do, it's probably a shorter list, I promise you. So Plowright International is actually a CMMC registered provider organization. So if you're looking for somebody, or you hear somebody that is looking for an organization for CMMC background, she is good to go. She's been doing this for 25 years. Yes, she has 25 years in the game. And I mean, that's phenomenal in itself, because people tend to change, here and there. Andrea has been providing expert IT centric operational performance improvement and cybersecurity consulting services within the last 5 years to a broad range of commercial and government clients, such as Perot Systems Government Services, Dell Services. I know everyone probably has a Dell. Their federal government sector, Salesforce, and the United States Postal Service, and also Department of Health and Human Services. In the recent years, she discovered a new passion for aviation. So she actually launched, as if she doesn't have enough on her plate, she launched Plowrightaviation LLC, which is also minority owned, woman owned, and an aviation service organization with the focus of aircraft leasing and rental services. So you know we coming to find you when we need to get on these planes.
That's it. Find me. I got a
So
plane for you.
look, and I mean, hey, wheels up. I'm down. I need to come and find you on a weekend when I know you on that doggone tarmac. All right. So welcome, my dear friend, my sister in aviation, because I need to finish my PPL. Andrea, thank you for joining me and allowing me to place you on this pedestal. How are you doing? Hearing all of your illustrious background.
Tell you, girl, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We have been rolling today. What Amber has not said is we had another event earlier this morning that we went to for the women in aviation, and I had to hightail it back from DC to get back to Northern Virginia so that we could get ready for tonight's speaker series. So I am here and I am ready to dive right in, ma'am, and talk to your listening audience and answer any questions that you may have.
Yay, I'm so excited. So it is
Yeah,
a pleasure to have you here. Once
thank
again,
you.
we love the talent, we love the drive, we love the inspiration. So let's get to it because I'm pretty sure we have a lot of things to talk about, and we're gonna try to
Yeah.
keep the we're gonna do a fireside chat, but we're also gonna keep throwing in some pivotal
Keep
points
it
to kind of
flowing. Yes,
I
yes,
yes because we got to keep it engaged, right?
yes,
So
yes.
let's talk about the inspiration to take on the friendly skies. Like we'll start off with the FAA. So just before I start that, for the audience, we'll clarify any acronyms and any instances that may come up in this
Yes.
segment to make sure that everyone is on track and following along. You don't have to go off and Google and then you're not coming back. So you have a complete understanding of what we're talking about. So let's go ahead and pitch this. So, Andrea, can you tell us what FAA is and why FAA is important?
Sure. So you guys may hear a whole plethora of acronyms, but like Amber said, we're going to clarify that. So FAA stands for the Federal Aviation Administration. That is a federal agency here in the United States that is responsible for regulating and overseeing all aspects of civil aviation. So it's a U.S. based federal agency. Their span of coverage includes air traffic control, airspace management, certification of personnel and pilots and aircraft, enforcement of aviation related safety standards. So, in other words, they are the federal law for aviation in the United States. So, they oversee both general aviation and commercial aviation. So, for you to get into this world, you will have to deal with the FAA if you want to fly aircraft of any kind. You will deal with the FAA. So they are the rule of law in the United States around, how we're able to do what we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And so the reason why we brought up FAA first off, because of course they're the governing spectrum when it
the
comes
governing,
to
right.
the flight itinerary, anything that you wanted to do as far as like flight focus. But the reason why we brought up FAA is because we're talking about like the field of aviation. It's a domain deeply rooted in science and technology, which is why we're bringing it to the forefront, where principles of physics, weather, and engineering is all covered. So these fundamental elements are critical for understanding flight dynamics and aerodynamics, and constituting the core elements and requirements for the necessities that you have to have in order to be a successful aviator. So
Mm-hmm.
let's
Correct.
talk about that whole thing because it's a lot, right? So
Right.
even though you think you could just get into a cockpit and just take the wheel and just take off into the friendly skies, not so much. Gotta have STEAMM. So can you share with us what inspired you to pursue aviation and how you discovered your love of flying?
So this is a funny story, right? I'm not, I didn't grow up, saying, oh, I want to be a pilot. No, 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 no. So what happened? I have a, I'm a fan of family. I'm a big lover of family. I'm a family girl, and the next generation has come along, and I have a nephew who is an actual pilot. And so when he was a little kid, I mean, around 10 or his mother and I were just talking about this last week. So around the age about 10 or 11, he just fell in love with aviation. And I don't remember a time when our family was together that this kid did not have his laptop with him and his flight simulator software on his laptop. And I have never seen a child so focused on mastering a craft that I saw in him. I don't care what family event we had, where we traveled. Devin always had his laptop with his flight simulator on it. He's an adult now, and he talked about it. He was like, I didn't have anything else to do. A lot of time there were no other kids around, so I had to do my flight simulator. I said, well, listen, it landed you in the right spot, sir. So he was a lover of aviation. When he was a little kid, we took him to the Air and Space Museum. His mom ran him all over town doing things related to aviation. As he got a little bit older, he joined Civil Air Patrol. By the time he graduated from high school, he had his private pilot certificate, and he went on to go to Embry-Riddle University, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So that's
Right,
out
right,
in
right.
Florida. Anybody who knows anything about aviation knows about
That's the
Embry-Riddle.
place to be.
Um,
Yep.
Absolutely. So by the time he got to Embry, he was already prepared he had his private pilot certificate. He went on to get his instrument rating. He went on to become a flight instructor. He worked as a flight instructor at Embry for a while, and then he worked as a flight instructor at another flight school. And then he got all of his, additional certifications needed for him to go into aviation or into the commercial world with the airlines when he graduated. So when this kid before he graduated from college, he had an offer from the airline. So the minute he graduated, he went straight to the airlines, and he has been there ever since. So one day, so I've always been proud of him, and we've always supported his dream. And Auntie had no desire to fly. It was just all about him and his love for it. So one day, a couple of years ago, actually, in my good old age, we were at a family event, and I was just doing the anti-love fest and telling him how proud I was of him and what a great job he had done. He's now a captain with the airlines. This kid is like 20. He became a captain when he was 25, right?
That's
He's super young.
that's fast track. I'm gonna let the audience
Right, right. And
know.
I was like, honey, when I was 25, that was not on my mind. I can promise you that. So just giving him his flowers and telling him how proud I was of all of his accomplishments. And we were laughing and stuff. And he looked me dead in my face, just as serious as anybody. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, Auntie, you could be a pilot too. Just
Set
like
up.
that. Those were his only
Set up.
words. You can do it too. And I don't know, it was something, I'm the snap kid. Don't can do something because I'm ready to do it. And it was just something about the conviction and the convincing manner in which he said that. I said, what? And it just stirred something in me. He said, you could be a pilot too, Auntie. And I said, so tell me about it. So he told me about it, and I lie not. When something stirs in me, I jump on it, right? And so about a month later, he and I met up in North Carolina. He lives in one state. I live in another state. We
Right,
met in
right.
North Carolina. We went back to his original flight school where he got his pilot license, his pilot certificate as a kid. He took me up in what they call an adventure flight. So that's when you go up with a cert.
I've
He's
been.
still a certified
Yep.
flight instructor. He took me up, and let me tell you something. See, I'm a lover of planes, right? I've always loved to fly, but it's a whole different world when you sit in that cockpit. So when we sat in that cockpit and took off in the air, my whole soul left my body. I was like, as being on, an airline and a pressurized jet, looking out the window, actually sitting in the cockpit and flying the plane. You talking about nerve wracking, right? So probably about 30 minutes into the flight, I got a little more comfortable, and he was very calming, and we went and we flew for probably 2 hours or over 2 hours. And when we landed and I came back to the DC area, this was when I came back on that Sunday, by the following Friday, I had signed up for flight training. And this has been my journey ever since. So it's about something that was not on my mind. This was not a passion of mine. It wasn't, that'd be kind of cool to be a pilot. You be the pilot. We love that for you.
Right, for
We
you.
celebrate you. Right. And
For
right.
you.
So and of course my family laughed at me. They were like, "Oh, girl, you're not gonna do it." His mom and everybody talked so much trash. And listen, a week later, after he flew me, I had jumped on the bandwagon, and I've been on it ever since, and absolutely love it. It's been full of challenges,
Yeah,
full of trials, but I absolutely love it. And then, as I started the journey, I found out that his dream was always to have somebody in his family get into this aviation space with him. His mom didn't know that. I didn't know that, right? And I said, "Oh, you got the right one now. Fun Auntie is here. He is
I
here,
love
and
being fun auntie. That's awesome.
honey, Fun Auntie is here, and he's just like, I'm so sick of Fun Auntie. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, this, what about that, and that's problem. That he was like, oh, I'm sick of Fun Auntie, but I'm here for him. This is really born out of a love for him and a love for family, and just creating a legacy that him as the next generation can be inspired by and be a part of. And when I leave this earth, he can take it over and continue his dream in aviation. He's a
That's so
professional
cool.
pilot. I'm general aviation. So when he and I are together flying, it's just for fun and the enjoyment of the love of flying. And so, that in a nutshell is how it all came to be.
I
Just loving
mean,
on him and wanting to inspire him and bring his dreams, additional dreams. His mom and parents bought his dream to pass to become a pilot, and he had the next dream of having somebody else in the family, and his mom was like, "Oh, bless your heart, the dream stops there, buddy, because ain't nobody else getting ready to do that." And Fun
mom's
Auntie
not
jumped
doing
on the
it.
scene. Right, mom and dad and grandpa and everybody else was like, "Oh, that's a nice dream. Next." So I got you, buddy. I got you. And I just took off from there. My initial goal was just to become a private pilot, and it has, as you mentioned, taken off. And I've started an aviation business, and it just spiraled from there, and here we are today.
Look,
So
I will second that motion because it's always somebody that plots to put you in that cockpit. So just to kind of like throw in a 2 cents, in case the audience does not know, I'm working on my private pilot's license as well. I'm a little slower than Andrea is because those things cost money. If you don't know, she will definitely inform you. I'm gonna let the expert tell you how that function is, but back when I was living in Houston before I moved to the East Coast, one of my soldiers, he plotted on me. I swear he did. And when you said something, it triggered a memory. So he was like, "Wait, have you ever flown?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work at NASA and fly in the, I'm not crew. I don't do crew." He's like, "Hey, I'm a pilot. Do you want to go fly?" And I'm like, "Sure,
wow.
okay. Nope, no big deal." So he took me off on like an adventure flight, right? It's usually like an hour or so. He showed me all
Right.
of the walkthrough for checking the actual plane, did a whole roundabout and everything, went down the tarmac, went down the landing strip and took off. And see, you had such a nice endeavor. This man tried to
Oh,
take my soul and contain it in a jar and keep it and take it home because he took it. He took the plane and flew upside down over the water in the Gulf of Mexico because I said I wasn't
no.
afraid. And he was like, "Well, if you don't throw up with me, then you should be okay." So I did not. I did not vomit. I will tell you
Listen,
that
I
I did
did
not.
all of my first couple of flights.
I did
Good
not
grief.
vomit. But I will tell you, I don't know if you're not a roller coaster person, maybe you shouldn't do that the first
Yeah.
flight. But
Yeah.
exhilaration, like that's the top thing. And I loved
Yeah.
it so much. I loved it so much, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to get into this." And you would think
Oh man,
somebody working
that's
at
cool.
NASA, like you're around aviators all the time, you're around the astronauts, you're around all these things. And people, they had like clubs, Cessna clubs. And some of my
Nice.
really good like mentors, I have two mentors. They're actually they're retired astronauts, but they also still fly. So, they're like, "Oh,
Nice.
you should go, get your aviation pilot's license." So I'm like, "Okay." And I took this flight and now I'm stuck. So, I mean, it is a little bit of a daunting task when it comes to the money attribute, but of course, it is nothing's free in the world and nothing worth
Right.
having is easy. So, we're
Right.
definitely
Right.
going to get into that. So, let's talk about the steps of this. Like we tell these stories because we want people to know, yeah, we both had the same type of endeavor, but we had a little bit of a different. Yours was from a loving situation. Mine, my soldier tried to kill me. So but for those that do not know the steps, right now we're going to gloss over them a little bit, but can you tell us about the steps for baseline piloting requirements, and how can someone get started in aviation aside from the flight, and what are
Right.
your limitations?
Well, let's see. Let me think about it. So, one of the things you guys can do, and as Amber mentioned, we're going to put all of these websites and links in the notes for this meeting. So, if you want to take notes, you can. If not, you can come back later on to get the information. Of course, the main place that you want to go to get current and up to date information is at the FAA website. If you go to www.faa.gov/pilots, that is the portal for pilots, and it has a ton of information about what you need to do to
Yep.
become a pilot at any level. General aviation, private pilot, instrument rated pilot, multi-engine, commercial pilot, so forth and so on. So to as a student pilot or to get a student pilot certificate, can you guys see that?
Yep,
To get
I
this,
can
yeah,
see
can
it.
you see
Yep.
it? Okay. All right. So it looks like this. It's a card like this. So you hear the word certificate, but it looks like a driver's license. You have to be at least, I believe, 16 years of age, unless you plan to fly like hot air balloons or gliders. I think you 14 years old to get the actual. So you can start training at 16. You need to be 17 to actually receive the certificate, the private pilot
Right.
certificate. You need to be able to read, write, speak fluent English. You have to hold at least a third class medical certificate that's issued by an aviation medical examiner. We will list the website for that where you can go and select an examiner. Um, Once you've met those requirements, then you need to choose a flight school or a private instructor to begin your endeavor. Yeah. So you need to do your research. Please do your research because not all flight schools are created equal. Not all flight schools are legitimate, and there are some people out there that will take your money and you will learn absolutely nothing, and it's a nightmare. So do your research, find a reputable flight school in your area, or like I said, a private instructor. I have a private instructor. I started out at a flight school and I transitioned to a private instructor. You need to get once you when you initially start training, you don't have to have that student pilot certificate before you solo. You need to have that certificate that I showed you. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
to have that. So there's a website where you can go and obtain that. Your instructor should walk you through that, but just in case they forget, like mine did, um, my initial instructors, then we'll leave the website out there for you. You'll begin your training with the flight instructor. You need about 35 hours of ground school training. So you have to have the educational background, or else you will not understand anything that you're doing once you get in that plane, right? So it's
Yep.
35 hours of ground school training. I cannot emphasize this enough. Find a ground school that meets your particular training needs. That was one of
Yes.
the issues that I had with my initial school. It's a well-known, reputable ground school training that they use, but it just did not resonate with me, And so I had to switch my ground school that I'm using now. Shout out to Jason Shafford. I have to give him a shout out to M0A. That's one of the best ground school trainings I have ever seen. They take because you're learning about aerodynamics and subject matter and things that you've never heard of before. So when
Right.
somebody comes in hot with a bunch of acronyms and they don't explain things and what those acronyms mean, it was just too overwhelming for me. So Jason is very straightforward. He talks in English and he gives you examples. I'm also, I'm hands-on. If you tell me, 16 paragraphs of something, okay, let's go. How do we apply that?
Yep.
I immediately know how to apply it. And I just wasn't getting that from the first ground school that I took. So then you have to have, I think it's a minimum of 40 hours of flight time. And so that 40 hours breaks down into specific things you need to do. It's like 20 hours of flight instruction with a certified flight instructor, 10 hours of solo time. Part of that is some cross country time. Um, let's see, you have to have 3 hours of instrument training. So although you are not getting an instrument rating with your private pilot license, you do have to get at least 3 hours of instrument training to demonstrate that you can do some basic instrument reading
Right.
when flying
Right.
a plane. You have to pass a written exam. There's an oral exam, and then you have to pass a check ride with a designated FAA pilot examiner. So an examiner goes up in the air with you, and you have to demonstrate that you know the basic maneuvers and the four fundamentals of flight. And so it's a commitment. It's an extensive ride, but it's a very interesting ride. If you have a love for learning and if you like adventure, you get a lot of both. When you undertake becoming a pilot, a
I
private
mean,
pilot. Yeah.
it's, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it sounds, hearing it sounds excessive, right? When you look at it on paper and you just go through and check the box and mark off what you've done, it's really, you're actually like, man, maybe I should do a little over 40 hours of actual flight, or maybe
Well,
I should do, something night flights or something like that. Like, you think about it, you're
yeah,
like, man,
you
do
have
I?
to do night flights. I didn't mention that, but part of that 40 hours of flight includes a set number of hours of night flying.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
you have to
right.
demonstrate that you can do that. Yeah. And I
Yep.
definitely have gone over 40 hours, and the average person goes over 40 hours. A lot of times people do 80 hours because if you unless you and it really depends on how quickly you pick it up.
It
Because I
depends
think
on
Devin
you.
did
Yep.
his in a month. He did his in a month, right? He was a kid right out of high school. He went that month before he went to college, and he did it. I think he went 3 or 4 times a week. And I've met other people that have done theirs in a month. They just went straight through full time. They did it. I don't have the luxury of doing it full time because
Right.
I own a couple of businesses and have to
Yeah, we
work
have
to pay
jobs.
for it.
We
To pay for flight school,
exactly.
right? The flight training.
Exactly.
So I would go on the weekends, and you just need consistency, and like I said, different people pick up things quicker than others, and it's all about it's zero game. It's fun, but it's zero games to be played when you are
Yeah.
flying a plane. It's
Let
zero
me
games to be played.
let me
So
tell you, it's
you
totally
got to be able to
different from
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. You have
from
to be able to
driving a
control that.
car.
Oh, completely different. And you've got to be able to, there's a lot of things that you have to be mindful of and aware of, when flying a plane. It's similar to flying a car, but it's quite different. So
Yeah.
you get some issues in the air, you can't pull over on a cloud and
Turn your
settle your
blinker
plane.
on. Right.
Right.
Hazard
And wait
lights.
for the air and wait for, a tow truck to come. You can't do that. So you're doing. And so, it's a lot of focus and a lot of things that single pilot resource management things that you have to do. We'll talk about that later. But it's again, it's fun and
It's
it's
fun.
it, it's
I
it's fun.
I can't
It is
tell
fun,
you.
but
It's
it's fun with
fun.
zero game. right? It's fun, but no,
Because
it's
you will
serious.
find if you play in the air, you will quickly find the intersection between F around and find out. So you will definitely
Exactly.
find, but it's
Exactly.
nothing. And we're not telling the audience, of course, things like this to give you the immense
To
fear.
make you fearful. No,
It is
no.
so, I'm not joking. It is so fun. Especially when you take over and you're not the co-pilot anymore, you're the pilot. Now you actually get to physically steer a plane, or you duck paddle down the tarmac to get to the runway and actually take off. You do a touch and go. I'm talking all this stuff because I've done it. I've done a night flight. So I'm gonna tell this story and then we're gonna move on. So usually tell people this funny joke. I thought it was funny, but it's, what's the most expensive taco cabana? And my answer is always a night flight from Houston to San Marcos. San Marcos was closed, so we had to divert to Austin, touch down in Austin, grab a car, 7 miles out the gate to Taco Cabana, come back, and then give the guy that fueled
Yeah,
our
that's an
plane.
expensive taco run, Amber.
Yep.
That's an expensive taco run. That's
Tell the
expensive.
guy,
So,
hey, here's your taco bowl for filling our jet. Late at night, we get back in the Cessna, and then a couple of hours later, we back touching down in Ellington Field in Houston. So I that's my joke, and hey, if it's not funny, I'm sorry, but for aviators, it is hilarious because it's like, oh, you had to divert to another airport because one was closed, and you really wanted food, and I was hungry for Taco Cabana. Texans know what Taco Cabana is, I hope. So there we go. So let's keep it moving because we could talk all day. I'm serious because this is so much fun.
well, this is
Um,
almost it's 2 minutes to 7.
I know. I'm so sorry. People
Oh
gonna hate
God.
us. People gonna hate us. So
Oh.
what were some of your most significant obstacles that you faced in your journey, and how did you overcome them, if any?
Yeah, there were. Like I said, I started out at one flight school, and it just didn't work out for me there. The biggest thing, I am an avid learner, and I ask a lot of questions. And again, all flight schools are not created equal, and not all flight instructors are created equal. There are people out there that genuinely don't care whether you learn. They just are using your money to get the hours they need to get to the airline to fulfill their dream. They don't care about their dream. And so I ran into that, and uh with a few instructors, and had to
Yikes.
switch instructors. And shout out to my two favorite instructors, Carolyn and Alex, and my instructor that I have now, Chris Freeze. He's absolutely amazing. And just the ground, like I said, the ground school curriculum that they use just didn't work for me. And
Yeah.
again, it's not a game flying airplane. So I don't need people to say, understand it, you got it, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Understand it. I'm telling you, I understand it.
My eyes are really big. I don't know how big they are, but
Right. I may have gotten lucky and hit the right button. And that's what it was. I'm not doing that. If I don't feel good within myself that I know what I'm doing, if I can't recreate the miracle, I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, listen, malarkey and foolishness, and I'm paying a lot of money for this. I'm out.
right.
So I learned a lot where I was, and I've been able to bring all that into my current learning situation, but it just wasn't enough to move the needle for me the way that I needed
Yeah.
to be moved. I need to, I don't need my buddy Carolyn is like trying to learn on a show level, and you just need to get down a little bit. So, well, okay, well, I need you guys to tell me that. I mean, I am, I'm big picture girl, right? I
Right.
do large scale organizational conversions, right? So I know to know the whole story and the whole ins and outs to do what I do for a living. So bring mindset where it needs to be to just get
Right.
this private pilot license. But you have to tell me that because I don't know that I'm doing too
Right.
much, right?
Yep.
I'm used to doing the absolute most because that's what
And
I do
asking
for a living.
why.
and asking why. And so, so that was part of it. But again, like I said, shout out to M0A. They know how to do it right. Go take it. My
We
buddy
will
flight
put their
instructors.
information
Yeah, we'll
in
put
this
their
for sure.
information there. My buddy Carolyn, who was my flight instructor, I hated when she left. I was happy for her when she left and went to the airlines, but I lost my good instructor, and then my other one, Alex, who I loved, he's in IT too, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm done with this." The stuff that I'm learning now, and I was like, man, if I had that, when I first started, I'd be done with all of this stuff. But
Well,
I felt like things happen for a reason, and I learned what I learned for a reason. And now that I'm in this industry from a business perspective, it was actually good that I learned how some people behave, because it will help me to be aware of what's out
right,
there in the
right.
streets.
And it promotes your own
So
personal business.
yeah. So just, the biggest obstacle for me was finding people who genuinely wanted to train. These guys a lot of these guys do not like to do the instructor part when it comes down to the educational piece. They love to be in the plane flying. It's their passion. That's what they love. And I mean, teaching isn't for everybody, but they have to do it because you have to have so many hours before you can
Right,
go to the airline.
right.
So, I had a gentleman, a mentor that I worked with. Shout out to Alex, another Alex for that. And he told me about, getting a private pilot, and that's what he did to get all of his pilot certificates, his training, because those are people who do this for a living, and
Right.
they like teaching and they like training. And so, like I said, the gentleman that I have now, who actually holds a Guinness world record in aviation. He's amazing. He's very patient. And he gets it, and he knows how to deal with adult learners too.
Okay.
So it's just that was my biggest challenge. It's a big challenge that I've heard for other people. My nephew was telling me about a gentleman that he met in Puerto Rico who was a flight attendant, and he had big dreams for becoming a pilot. And he went and took out a loan, went to this school in Puerto Rico. They promised all these, things. He went to class for about a week and realized that it was not the truth, and he quit. And it was heartbreaking to hear that. He said, I just have to give up on this dream because these people are not real and they're not authentic, and I can't afford to have this loan out here, and I'm not learning anything, and I'm not going to get anything for it. So he turned the loan back in and he quit. And he's in a part of the world where there's not a lot of opportunity for him to go to flight schools. There's flight schools here. You can leave one and go to another.
Right, right.
There's more than one. But when my nephew told me about that, it just, I understood what he was going through, because I was frustrated for a long time with what I was experiencing. And
Well,
you know,
so
and
what we could do, and I know this is going to give us extra work that we probably don't need these days, but what we could do is just because this, I don't want it to sound like a fear factor element. Um, but maybe after we, plug and play all of the information for the FAA and things like that to get your private pilot's license or your license in general, or even if you want to get in aviation, you guys can reach out to me at the AWISDC at gmail.com. I will pitch you in the direction of which way you want to go when you ask these questions. So if y'all are really interested in aviation, you're hearing Andrea tell you like there's people that we've known and come across that have wasted money on these instructors or these flight schools that didn't pan out to be what they really should have been. So
yeah,
to alleviate that from y'all's fear and horrible situations for y'all not to walk down these paths, please email us. We will direct you. We will give you some great-minded people, some people that
resources. Yeah,
yes, that we
resources.
trust in the area that
Yes,
you're
yes,
in. So if you're not here in
yeah.
the DMV, you're in Texas, you're in California, you're in Florida, you're in New York, please reach out to us. I do have a lot of social media personalities that are watching this that are not just in the DMV. So if you have those kind of questions, please reach out to the AWISDC committee. Please just email AWISDC at gmail.com, and we will guide you and help you, because what we don't want to do is entice you to go into aviation and then you waste all this money, because money is something that you can replenish, but it hurts to lose it. So
Listen,
yeah.
between me burning off my family's ears with the drama and the money that went out the window, yeah, you don't want to go down that path. So,
No,
you
absolutely
know,
not. So
yeah.
so we're gonna pitch into a different kind of like mode, because I like talking aviation. I could totally talk aviation all day, because I love that passion of flying, and I love when I talk to somebody with the passion. But we're gonna hop into a question that deals with cybersecurity a little bit. Um,
Okay.
Actually, I think we might want to kill this one, because I think this is talking about. No, we won't do that one. We won't do that one. What we'll talk about now is just like challenges, right? So we'll talk about
Mhm.
in your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges facing professionals in STEAM today, particularly women and underrepresented minorities. And I'm sure we know enough, being a female in some of these industries where men just take over the climate and everything. We have our own battles, but what do you think is some of those?
Um, I think having a genuine support system, you know, I think women and underrepresented minorities have more opportunities today than any other time in history.
Yeah.
However, I think as you decide to take a step forward, you will find out that there are obstacles that you never imagined that could pop up, right? And a lot of it is just there to stop you from moving forward, especially if you're trying to take on a leadership role, you know. So having a genuine support system where you feel safe to be vulnerable, where you feel like you won't be judged, where you can be mentored, where you can be corrected if you need to be corrected, where you can be heard, where you can be valued, where you can be appreciated, where you can feel inspired. It's a must. It's been a must for me in my career. As you said, I've got over 25 years. I actually almost have 35 years in business and in IT. And if it wasn't for my support system, I don't think I would have, I know I wouldn't have made it through a lot of that stuff. So, it's very, very challenging to find people who are genuinely happy for just and who want to support you. You know that. And I'm sure anybody else who's lived longer than 5 days and been out here in the world, you find that out, right? And so, my godmother and my family have been my rock and my support system. Shout out Mama Kate and my mom and my cousin, my nephew and my his mom. Um, it's just you got to have that support system because and you're not always right. So you need somebody who's going to be real with you and tell you when you are wrong, and you need somebody who can talk you down off of a ledge sometime
Yeah.
when you want to go off on somebody, or when you want to quit and when you want to give up. A good support system, I think, is what is needed for women and underrepresented minorities, because man, they come at you. People come at you hard, and it can, it's people you might not even expect. But it comes with the territory. I'll just say
Right.
that. And
Right.
so there's no way around it. Anybody who's lived, any amount of time and try to take a step out there and do something, has experienced this. So I'm not special or different. I have my own set of challenges and things, and people sometimes tend to come at me pretty hard, but that support system is what for me, it's what has helped me to sustain
Right.
this
And
to
thrive
stay
in it.
stay in the game and thrive,
Yeah.
for
Yep.
over 25 years. So I think that's a big challenge. Like I said, there are opportunities out here now that just didn't exist just a few years ago, when I was in high school and when I was in college. But they're out here, and I'm gonna tell you, if you are somebody who likes to take on a challenge and solve problems, they don't care what sex you are, what color you are, or anything else. If you can solve their serious problems, they'll let you do it. In
And
some
pay lucrative.
in a lot of instances, not in all instances. Some people will die before they rather have you come up in there, but and we happy to let them do so if they choose to. But but so there's opportunities out there, but again, to try to go it alone, it's a rough road sometimes. So,
Right,
you know,
right. Well, so I mean, you brought up a good point, right? Like the education substance behind it. So when we talk about the role of education, of course, you have to have some type of education to get into these types of spaces, and that's fair, right? Some people, start their aviation journey in high school. Even there are some
yeah.
summer programs. There's a big one with the it's predominantly male. I forget the OABP. Is that it? OABP.
OBAP,
OBAP.
BAP.
OBAP.
Yeah.
Yep. So that
Yeah.
one. So
Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals.
gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
So I do have a couple of colleagues that are in that, and I know that they have summer
I'm
programs
in
for young.
that. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
in that.
so they have summer
Yeah.
programs for kids in high
They do.
school, and it's
They do.
scholarship based. So things
Yeah.
like that, right? So when we talk about like role of education, we talk about mentors too. I mean, gosh,
Yeah.
we talk about those. But how important do you think your education has been um, in aviation, and like, is there any specific courses or experiences that you would recommend to students or adults that are aspiring to pursue a career in the field of flying, or even a fun endeavor to just have in their back pocket? What do you think about like any kind of experience or courses or anything like that?
Well, okay, I can tell you about some courses depending on where you want to go with this, right? So remember, I'm general aviation. So
Right,
I'm just trying to become a certificated pilot,
right,
private pilot, probably instrument rated. I'm not right now, I'm not interested in being commercial pilot, but the education required, right, right. Who knows what my nephew might say to me next week, and I'll be like,
oh
nope,
man, I
nope,
hope he's
I'm
not
good.
watching.
Right, right. Girl, I just got a job at United. I don't know. I'm starting a transport business. Who knows what I might say. But for now, general aviation is my space, right? And so from a general aviation perspective, I mean, I had a degree in computer science. That didn't really help me very much because, aviation, like you said, is about with aerodynamics and weather and physics and how to fly a plane. You don't cover that in computer science. You learn how to write software and
Right.
program and things like that back when I was in school. Um, the thing that has helped me though is my work and business experience, right?
Okay.
So remember I mentioned earlier about single pilot resource management. That's all about controlling and navigating and aviating a plane as a single pilot and utilizing all of the resources available to you to effectively take flight and stay safe. So the thing that's helped me from a experiential perspective, not so much from an education perspective, has been the years of experience I had in the program management field, right?
Okay.
So managing programs, because there's a lot of correlation in single pilot resource management, right? So in managing programs, IT programs, quality initiatives, in that space as well as in aviation, single pilot resource management, they have the same components: decision making, right? You got to make decisions pretty quickly sometime, right? Situational awareness, task management. If you've
Yep.
managed a project before or a program, you got that Microsoft project schedule, you are managing tasks all the time, right?
Right.
Communication is huge with single pilot resource management. You are constantly listening to the radio as you are flying. You listen to the radio for music. In a plane, you're listening to the radio for instructions and to talk to air traffic control and to listen out for other pilots around you. So you've got decision making, situational awareness, task management, communication, automation management. We have a lot of automation in the stuff that we do from an IT
Right.
and cybersecurity
Yep.
perspective. Risk management is huge. in both,
Big.
the cyber world, the IT world, and in aviation. So having that experience from a business and information technology perspective helped me to understand a very critical component of aviation, right?
Right.
The education part comes in again, selecting the right school to get the training, because you're going into a subject matter that, unless you went to college for aerospace or aviation, you don't know. I don't know anything about aerodynamics and the four fundamentals of flight. None of that happens in IT, you know? So, just that experience, and then the years of experience I've had with helping organizations to establish operational processes, checklists, things of that nature. There's a lot of acronyms and nomenclatures and checklists and things that you use in flying. So because I
Yeah.
had experience with that and I understood the importance of using it when you're, managing IT companies and IT shops and all that, I was like, oh, this is going to be a great learning experience. They've got checklists for everything. You've got checklists for maneuvers. You've got checklists for how to take off, how to land the plane. If your engine fails, if this happens, if that happens, there's a checklist for everything.
Yeah.
So just the actual everyday business experience that I had is what made a difference for me. And then again, from an educational perspective, again, it's all about the ground school training that you take in the school that you go to. Now, that's general aviation. If you are talking about going into a career of aviation, then of course you need to pick the education that
Yeah.
aligns with what you're
Definitely
trying to
different.
do. So like I said, my nephew went to Embry. He's got a degree in aeronautical science. My current flight instructor has a million degrees, and now he's back getting his master's in aviation safety, right? So education is important depending on the path you want to go down, right?
Right.
So if you want to do general aviation, you find a flight school, you find ground school, and that may be enough for you. It just all depends on
Yeah.
each
On
individual.
individual. Yep. Yep.
Yep, yep, yep.
So so let's talk about individualism and like what you're doing right now with piloting and aviation leadership, because that's a thing too. Um,
Mm.
so shameless plug again. Um, you are the president and CEO of Plowright Aviation. So how do you envision the intersection of technology and aviation evolving in the future?
It's a good question. Again, this is coming from a general aviation perspective. I know
Right.
I know some of the things that are happening in the commercial world because I talked to my nephew, and just, because of the way my brain works, it's always good to learn more than you need, right? In my
Right.
opinion. Um, I think, some of the advancements that are being seen today in general aviation is the, introduction of the Garmin 500 and the Garmin
Yep.
1000. These things are taking the place of the original steam gauge avionics in these general aviation planes. The digital readouts are extremely helpful in facilitating efficient flight and travel. As we discovered when we came back from Arizona, the plane that I purchased, if you could see, everything is digital.
Yeah.
We took out the previous owner, all of the analog functionality of the plane has been replaced by digital readouts. So, this right here is the Garmin 500. And so, it lets me see my altitude at a moment's notice versus me
Right.
having to read the steam gauges are still there. So we've got redundancy. So if this fails, I still have these avionics and they still work, right?
Yep.
And so, but having to read this little number on here to figure out what my altitude is versus something telling me, 1,500 feet, right?
Right.
Quick. My nephew was like, okay, how much gas do we have? And you can't see it here, but there's a digital readout for the
Yeah.
gas, right? Both tanks, we could tell, all right, you got 6 miles left before you are out of gas. So it right. It facilitated, and we, you can go one more hour on these 6 gallons of gas, right? And so We loved it. It was like, oh, digital readouts, quick, quick, quick. Because remember, single pilot resource management, you're doing this: aviate, navigate, communicate, aviate, navigate, communicate.
Right.
You are so you know this helps with that. Um, let's see, what are some of the other things? The availability of GPS in planes now. So you see this little this old school um tells you you going north, south, east, or west. We make the GPS right here, like the GPS in your phone. So they have that available, right? You have things like for flight. Can you? I don't know if you can see my computer here.
Yes,
You've
I
got
have flight on my cell
yeah,
phone.
yeah. So this is I've got Garmin flight. I'm on mine since I got all the Garmin avionics. I did Garmin flight, right? And so you've got that. You've got calculators. You've got aviation calculators, right? So you used to have to plan your trip using, almost
The
an abacus.
actual
You didn't
the protractors and the
protract,
pieces
right? The
on the
protractor.
actual
Yeah,
map. And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I've
yeah,
done
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so now you've got this. There's a stall horn on a lot of the planes, specifically on the Cessnas. You know how you used to have the stall horn is the thing that tells you you are about to lose lift. It's your warning that you are losing lift and you will not be in the air much longer if you don't correct.
Right.
Part of your pre-flight inspection is checking this horn to make sure it works before you take that plane in the air. Well, guess who used to check that? Put your mouth on that stall horn and suck on it. Something. My aviation career was almost over when I saw that. I was like, if you, because you know what, everything but God is
Alcohol,
on the
just alcohol it.
no, baby, listen. Everything but God is on the edge of them wings. Do you hear me? And to put your mouth on that is a no for me. So they now have stallhorn testers that you can use for that. That's not next. It's not necessarily electronic technology, but it is an
These new
advancement.
aviators are going to be so spoiled. Let me tell
Oh my God. Oh my God. Right. Right. So a lot of the general aviation planes have USB ports in them now, so you can keep electronic devices charged. So now that you're using all this technology, you don't want your your flight tool to die while you mid-flight. You don't want you don't want your cell
that would
phone to
not be
die while
that would
you're
not be good.
mid-flight. So there's a lot of advancement for general aviation on the commercial side. They're doing a whole lot of things. They're doing autonomous flight. So you got planes that are flying under the control of automatic systems with no need for human intervention. You have a little bit of that on general aviation planes too, because you've got the autopilot. So
Right.
that's autonomous and semi-autonomous. Um, you've got electric propulsion, right? So you've got electric and hybrid electric propulsion systems that are becoming more prevalent, on the outside of general aviation, and in general aviation as well. You've got digital connectivity and data sharing. So with the Internet of Things, you can get real-time data sharing streaming between aircraft operators and air traffic control. You've
Right. I
got
saw that.
augmented reality and virtual reality. I've been seeing advertisements on Instagram and all the social media pages where you can now do your flight training from a virtual reality perspective, right? And so I haven't, I haven't delved into that, but I'd be interested in seeing what that's like,
Right.
So now, they're training virtually and augmented reality. You've got unmanned aircraft systems. So people are using drones for various applications, including, and I'm working on my drone pilot license too, by the way.
Me too.
So you too. Yeah, there you go. So I mean, it's just so many
On
things,
top.
so many things from a technical perspective. So, I'm excited about what's happening, and I'm trying to just keep abreast of all that stuff because again, my business is aviation services. We buy and lease planes to organizations that need planes. So we got to keep up with all of this stuff so we can keep those avionics um current, which
And
is,
keep competitive. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, like I said, the gentleman that I got this plane from, he had done all these upgrades, so I was loving him for that. And so, he's made it all digital and no analog anywhere except for the backup stuff,
Whew.
But
But but let's talk about the
yeah,
analog because and I'm just gonna plug this in. It's good to learn the analog when you do go to flight
and it's a
school.
must. you should learn it. You should learn to fly on an original steam engine because first of all, when you take the exam, they're gonna talk to you about that, and so you need to understand it. And if you lose those digital electronics, you
You're
need to
straight
still know how to fly.
analog.
You need to know how to fly the plane. So it's almost like not learning math, but learning how to use a calculator. So what happens when you go to these fast food restaurants now? These kids don't if the register goes down, you give them $20, they don't know how to
They can't
calculate
break
in
the
their head
chain.
where your change is, right? So because they're used to using a machine. No, don't do that. Don't learn this way. Don't learn
Yes,
this. Don't learn only this way.
right,
Learn the steam engine, and then learn this as well.
right, right. And I mean, I'm
You-
second checking her conversation because I promise you, I'm more novice than she is. I know she's in that plane every weekend. I am not, but I'm a testament to all of this. This is definitely true. So yes,
Yeah.
facts,
And
everybody.
my nephew told me that because when I started at the original flight school, they had just upgraded all of their planes, and he was like, "Auntie, I want you to learn how to fly with the original six pack with the steam gauges." And I was like, "Well, what's the difference?" And when he talked to me about it, I said, "Oh, I don't like that. Auntie is all about the fundamentals, right?" And but the school didn't have, they still had some of the
Oh,
redundancy, some of the things left, but
okay.
they didn't train under those things. They trained with the garments, right? That's another reason I left too. But it don't let somebody tell you you don't need to know that. You do. If this stuff goes down mid-flight, what you gonna do?
Yep. And one of the things too, you're not even supposed to be able to look over the cockpit and fly based on you because everybody doesn't have good depth perception and things like that. So you're supposed to be able to use only panels and be able to fly. That's how I was told. Like
Well,
from
that's
the
if you're
analog
instrument
piece.
rated. You won't learn. You won't be able to necessarily fly by those instruments alone. Like right now with an initial pilot certificate, you are doing what's called VFR or following visual flight rules.
Right.
So you have to learn to fly based on what you see outside of the cockpit window. You take 3 hours of instrument training, but you're not going to be proficient in instrument flying only,
Yeah,
right?
not in that one piece. Yeah.
Right, not in that. You have to go after you get your private pilot license certificate. Rather, you have to go and get your instrument training to become proficient. And listen. So when we flew back from Arizona, I did my
Oh,
instrument
I
training.
love these pieces.
Listen. These are can you see them? So this is how you learn how to fly with the instrument, right? So the top part of these glasses are frosted out. I can't see you at all when I'm looking at the top of these.
Yeah.
So what it does is it prevents you from using visual flight rules and your eyes are just focused on the instruments. And you have to learn to read and trust what the instruments are telling you to tell you where you are in relation to
In
your
space.
flight.
Yep.
Right, right. So are you straight and level? Are you going to the north when you should be going to the south? And my thoughts were, do that, no problem, right? Because I'm used to looking down at the instruments and still doing visual flight rules, looking down at the instruments and following the instrument. So I thought, right? But what you don't realize is I don't care if you are looking out at the instruments, your peripheral vision is still working. And so
Right.
you can still, if you're flying during the day or even at night, you can still see peripherally, right? But honey, when you put these on,
Can't
this
see
is where the truth
nothing.
comes out. And I was like, oh my God, what is this instrument? I look, my nephew was like, yeah, it's not as easy as it seemed. He was like, keep them glasses on and keep right on flying. And we flew after our trip back with me doing this foggle training. And so, this is
No.
just another hefty tool in the bag, right? Because he's still a flight instructor, although he's a captain for the airlines, he still has his flight. So he was able to fly. I was able to, fly with him, and he was able to train me. So I got cross country. I got enough cross country hours to go right into being a commercial pilot because that was 3 trips. I can go, honey. I can go be whatever I want to be, with the amount of flying that I've done. But that's a whole nother story. But
And let me
yeah,
tell you, like I hope the audience is really paying attention because a lot of this information that she's giving you, you don't get this right off the bat. You don't get that deep dive information, so you're already kind of anticipating what's going to
Right.
happen when you get into
Right.
flight school. When you do, so when I tell you she came with her goodies to show you the different
That's
pieces
it.
that you use, the instruments that you use, I hope y'all are taking notes. So watch this video again and go back and take notes of what she's showing you. Start doing some research. I have, oh my gosh,
This is my knee
memories.
board, right? So this is
Yep.
actually a thing that you strap to your
Strapped
knee
to your
when you're
knee.
flying. And when ATC is giving you some information, or when the weather station, ATIS or AWAS is telling you the information you need for your altimeter and all the different things, you write it down here, or you can, I have a pad in here that I can write it down on here, and you write everything down. And single pilot resource management, it's
Yep.
you being organized and structured in a way that you can do everything you need to do. And I mean, this thing is, it's a trifold, right? So it opens up, or maybe it's not a trifold, it's double, it's,
So
twofold,
it had,
and you
yeah,
can
one
barely
side
see
for
it.
all of your
But
stuff. I
yeah, and
know.
so, one side you can put pins in it. I've got candy and, other stuff in it. And then this side you write all your notes and everything in.
Pad. Yep.
So I'm telling you, it's aviation is fun. It's fun, and you got to be prepared, for all the things. And so,
Right. I
you know,
forgot my pot. I should have brought my pilot log just so people will realize that I'm really
oh,
actually serious and I actually. But if you got your pilot log,
shoot,
look, mine is black.
shoot. Yes,
Okay.
honey, logbooks, and now they have digital logbooks. So this is where you keep track of all the flying that you've done, all the maneuvers you've done, all the things that you've done. So my cross country flight is in here. My instrument training, my use of the foggles and all that stuff is in there. Yeah, my nephew had 3 days to wear me out. Do you hear me? And he did that. He was like, it was almost like, y'all are a little bit younger than I am, but when I used to take piano lessons and you didn't hit the right key, the teacher would
Yeah,
pop
the
your
instructor
hand
with the ruler.
right with the ruler, right.
Yep.
My nephew was like, you don't keep doing this until you get it right. Get it right. I was like, you know what? I'm about to throw you out of this plane, young
You're
man.
no longer my nephew. Now you're
Exactly.
adversary. Okay.
Exactly. Now you are my enemy. But I tell you, that's a memory that, I will cherish forever. It was such an exciting thing.
So
So yeah,
bonding. I love it.
on time, Amber. Are we okay?
You know what? If people want to hop off, they can, or we can cut some of these questions down. But
Okay.
I think maybe I'll cut down a question or two.
Okay.
So let's see. I'll do this one, and then let's talk about. So I have leveraging expertise in cybersecurity and your role in aviation. We could talk about that one, and then we could take a break if you want. Okay. Okay. So, question: how do you leverage your expertise in cybersecurity within your role in aviation, especially considering the growth importance of
Hmm.
the cyber physical systems security in the aviation industry?
Well, I think, when we talked about all the technological advancements that are going on in general aviation and in commercial aviation, all that technology brings in the cybersecurity piece. The current presidential administration has issued a mandate, as a matter of fact, last year, on a requirement, for the nation's infrastructure to demonstrate alignment with cybersecurity standards. And so they started out with the railways, and now then, midway last year they amended that initiative and said now the airways are now included. So everybody is now going to be required. Everybody under this certain group will be required to
Right.
demonstrate that they have cybersecurity controls in place.
Good.
This is coming down from the White House, and it is a must. This isn't the 80s anymore. And with Internet of Things and connectivity and nation state threat actors and countries that are all have always and are still coming for the United States, it is critical that you know people become aware and ensure all of these systems that we're using to fly these aircraft are secure and safe. you know
No,
um
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
And being from the
yeah,
intel and information operations perspective, I mean, we always deal with like nation threat actors and
yeah,
someone trying to, infiltrate the system and be a
yeah,
lurker or gather information and things like that. The transpo world is no different. I mean, if you can control something as critical as a railway or an aviation line, I mean, that speaks volumes to one, your capability, but it renders us inapt. So I mean, between you and me and knowing the cybersecurity space, that's
yep,
one thing that we are definitely trying to make sure we don't
yep,
let any infiltration happen, no penetration at
yep,
all.
yep. And there's
So,
a I saw here this week that there's a new cybersecurity um, certification, airworthiness certification that's available now. So I'm interested in looking into that to see,
ooh,
you know, how Plowright Aviation or Plowright International can get involved with that. Because you and I have talked about that mandate that's come down from the White House
right,
about that cybersecurity agenda for aviation, and how we wanted to get into that. And it's here to stay, and it's a necessary thing to have subject matter experts that are passionate about aviation and that understand the criticality of cybersecurity in that
right,
space. It's not an option. It's just not an option.
at
So,
all.
you know,
And I think
yep,
that I mean, for those that are interested, I'll try to remember to plug in some information about that too, just in case anybody on here is cyber enthusiasts and want to get into the aviation space, because that's a big niche place to be. I'll ask this question, and then we're gonna jump to a 3 minute break. So, in your experience leading Power Aviation as it stands right now, what are your biggest challenges that you face in aviation training, and how have you addressed them?
to that. I think my biggest challenge was just making sure that for me in pirate aviation right now, not a lot, making sure we are cyber secure and that our planes are, current with the, industry needs. For me personally, with my training, and becoming a pilot, it's all about training with the right people and getting the
Right,
right educational, tools so that I can be successful and be a safe and mindful pilot. So it's just been extremely challenging to find the right people to train with. And so I think that's the biggest challenge for me right now. You know, um, I
I
just keep
mean,
talking about that because that's critical. I mean, it was a hindrance to me moving forward in that arena, and finally I've unstopped the whale. But you
I
know,
no, I get it, and trust me, I when I think about the maneuvering capabilities in aviation, you have to understand the baseline level before you can start doing any of the contingency planning, the operations, and all the fleet mod. All that stuff requires you to know baseline
dude,
information.
fundamentals. If you don't understand the fundamentals, you can't build a house on sand. You got to have the foundation right. Or you're building on the wrong stuff. So
Right.
it just was my personal mission to not accept less than,
Yeah.
and because again, I want to be safe. I am very mindful of things, and Lord knows I would not want to cause myself an accident or anybody else. And so
We've seen
you
enough of them.
yeah, well, you do what you got to do to take care of what you need to do to make sure you are a mindful pilot. I mean, you know,
Well, I think we can take a mini
okay,
break, but here's
okay,
here's the fun part about the break, right? So Andrea was so gracious enough to give us some video. So I hate to tell you all this, but you might skip your, bio break because Andrea gave us flight film. So from her flight back from Arizona to Virginia, she actually had some of the footage and she gave it to me. So for this next three
Do you have
minute
that one, or do you have me landing the plane? I think you have me landing the plane for the first time.
Oh, okay, you're right. So I take that back. Dang it. All right, so I don't have
You've
that.
seen the
So
footage of us flying.
I
Yeah.
seen it.
It's
See, that's why
Instagram if anybody wants to see it,
we
but
talk too much.
yeah,
We
I think
talk to each
you've
other
got
too
me.
much. The original one. Okay, but that one is literally just as good. I saw it. It's really good. So we're gonna break right here. I'm gonna put a pin on this, and I'm gonna give everybody a taste of like Andrea's actual like flight itself. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay. So I got a thumbs up. So we're going to go right into some cyber stuff because I mean we did talk cyber, right? And we did have a conversation about details for aspiring aviators, but we're going to jump into um, cybersecurity challenges and things like that. So we're going to talk about your inspiration for your pursuit in cybersecurity. So let's go ahead and talk about that. What persuaded you to go into cyber? Uh, in addition to, I guess, your BS in computer science.
Yeah, yeah, because that was it, and just just being an avid lifelong learner and loving to continuously grow and learn new things. So, after all the years of being in business and the information technology industry and, constantly being exposed to world events and trends in the industry, it just became a natural progression to move into that cybersecurity space. Everything in the world is now powered and supported by technology and the Internet of Things, and just being in that space, just discovering and learning about what's happening in the world and how we can protect ourselves with the world being all technology based. It was just a natural progression to move into
Right.
that. Yeah, so I've done what I've done for those 25 plus years, and now it's time for something new. So the new thing is cybersecurity, and man, oh man, there's a whole world
So
there that hasn't been
expanded.
touched. It's a whole
Yep.
world because this stuff didn't exist before. If we didn't have the internet and all this interconnectivity, we probably wouldn't need it to the degree that we need it now.
Right.
We've all taking a little cybersecurity training and made sure our networks were secure and blah blah blah. But now it's a whole new world. It's a whole new genre of endeavor. So it's like starting all over again. Learning something new. It's so many facets to it that
And it's almost like a defense thing too, right? So like I'm military, you're in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is another mechanism for a defense
it is. It
genre. It
is.
really is.
Right. And that's
You
why the DOD is leading the charge on it. They were like,
exactly.
going for, starting in 2025, if you don't have, these CMMC, you mentioned, my CMMC credentials, if you don't have those certifications as, a direct contractor with the DOD and all of your subcontractors, your mailman, your dog groomer, whoever may have access to DoD data in some form or fashion, or access to your network that may impact the DoD, they all got to be, some certified CMMC level, or you won't be able to do business with them, and the fines that are going to be associated with, if a problem
Probably going to
happens,
be astronomical.
going to be
Yeah.
astronomical. And the program that they have put in place to make sure people understand that this is not a game, it, it it could cost you your whole business if you don't line up.
Right.
So
And one of the
yeah.
things that I don't know anybody, if you're not in a business space like Andrea and I, we know for full well you have to have business insurance. And with the business insurance, there's a separate entity for cyber insurance now
Cybersecurity insurance. Oh my God. And that was a new thing for me. And it is not cheap.
at all. It's
It is
almost
not
it's
cheap.
literally like doubling your original insurance premium for
Oh,
your annual space.
mine was quadruple initially, and it's like, oh, what?
Yeah,
You know?
and most organizations want you to have at least 1 million in coverage. So just
Yeah,
imagine 1 million in coverage for your baseline, you know, uh, posture for your insurance for your company. But then on top of that, you have to have the same laterally for your cybersecurity element for
yeah,
insurance.
yeah. And my
So
first customer was like, "No, baby, 2 million, 2 million."
see,
That's why
see,
it was so hot. That's why I was like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. I didn't factor that into your cost, right? I didn't
right.
know we had to."
I need to
So
add this to your premium, your labor category that you're charging me
exactly,
for, and I'm gonna go ahead and invoice
exactly.
you. So if y'all aren't hearing, we're giving you tidbits that not a lot of people are gonna give you because
Right,
a lot of people in these spaces don't really want to give the free chicken. They want to
right,
just let you figure it out on your own or
right.
waste the money. But we're gonna make sure you don't waste money
We
doing
won't
that.
gatekeep.
We
We
won't
won't gatekeep.
gatekeep. We won't. Cool. We're not gatekeepers here. So we'll talk about a little bit, like maybe an obstacle or two that you saw and focused on for cyber, because it's different for aviation. Aviation is
Of
one thing, but
course, of
cyber is
course.
totally different. So if you want to give us your thoughts on that.
For me, when I entered into that space, for me, it wasn't so much an obstacle as people standing in my way, right? Obstacle was how quickly can you learn? Because it was like drinking from a fire hose. So it's a
Yep.
personal obstacle, right? Because
Yeah.
when I came in, I was hired for my, background as a CMMI lead appraiser. And this is a huge organization. And you're talking about more than a million components to their network, millions and
Right.
millions of components. And they were standing up a CISO organization. So, think about LifeLock, right? Everybody's seen that commercial for LifeLock.
Everybody
That's
got it because of
basically
Equifax was talking
everybody's
about.
got it, right? So that's basically a cybersecurity organization. Not basically, it is. It's a cybersecurity
Yeah.
organization that provides cybersecurity services. So think about standing that up, and that's what we were doing for this organization
Right.
internally, standing up their CISO operations. And so when I came in, again, I'm at the top of the food chain. I had to understand all the things. Now, remember, all this stuff is new to me when I first started this years ago, right? 5 years ago. And I had to quickly understand it because I was their assessor, right? So I had to understand that, okay, you are adding all of these, you're adding governance, risk, and compliance. What is that? Do I know what that is already? Is that the
Right.
same as program management? What is that? You're adding, a SOC operate, security operations center. What is that? You're adding security, engineering and architecture. What is that? So I had to quickly learn what all of those elements. These are just some of the
Yep.
general functions in a cybersecurity organization. You've got, governance, risk, and compliance. You've got security operations. You've got security engineering and architecture. You've got identity and access management. You've got incident response. You've got security risk management. You've got security awareness and training. You've got vendor risk management. You've got data protection and privacy. You've got threat intelligence. Okay, what does all that mean, right? And so the obstacle was how quickly can you learn? How quickly, and a lot of it, I do have an IT background, so a lot of it was, but I hadn't been technical in, right, and so many years, and so it was, oh Lord, let's pull out the old books and remember some of this. But these are all
Dust
new
them off.
genres, right? These are new things: pen testing, vulnerability management, ethical hacking. What is that? So we get to
Yes.
hack systems for a living and have and it be legitimate and legal. Just completely fascinating. So to learn all that stuff quickly because I had to make sure that these things, these operational functions were being stood correctly, and then we had to go in and
Yeah.
assess them and make sure they were right. Well, you don't want to be an assessor who doesn't know what the heck they're talking about and what they're looking at. So it was a lot of nights of reading and studying and remembering and understand. And a lot of the stuff was new. I had never heard of it. Vendor risk management. That's normal stuff. But like security awareness and training. That's kind of normal stuff. I'm used to doing that. But like I said, ethical hacking. Vulnerability management. What is all of that? you know and so and trying to make correlations and understanding, okay, is that like, what is that? Is that like testing? Is that like and it's not. But so just that was my biggest obstacle was, come on in, we love your background, we love your skills, we need you to help us stand this up, make sure it's running and operational, and we need you to assess them correctly and tell us the right thing.
Right. And
Okay.
hold
So
no bars. Tell us for
right,
real what we
right.
need.
So, yeah, so that was, the obstacle was getting there quick. And listen, this industry is so wide open. There is so much room for more talent. There's just not enough, they don't have enough people in it
Yeah.
because it's
And
growing so rapidly.
and I
It's
wish I
growing so
had stats for that. We should have pulled some stats for that because I mean, not only is this a wide open territory for anybody, it's really wide open for women because there's not enough of us in this space. Because
yeah,
we
yeah.
may feel that we just don't belong. I'm here to tell you, we belong. We belong. We
Oh,
should be there. We
absolutely.
definitely need
Oh,
to be there
absolutely.
because women have a different sense of capability that men just don't have. We have an innate response mechanism that sees things in a different light, and we can pinpoint different observations that some people might not see. Or if you're new in the game, you may just have a different perspective thinking outside the box. And those outside the box thinkers are the ones that actually make or break our industry as it is as a whole. So if you are still here, if you are listening to us about this conversation and you want to get into cybersecurity, don't let your mathematics degree, your social science, your political science, your
Oh
criminology.
no.
Oh my God, take criminology and use that.
Oh yeah.
Use that and really hone in on how you want to get into this space. Cybersecurity, privacy, and law. I have a soldier that
Oh yeah.
actually does that.
Oh yeah.
Lucrative money. Oh my God.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't
Oh
wait
yeah.
to get my hands on this man because I know that as soon as I can get him on a contract, he is going to be gold. And so these are different things that you can do in these industries. And me and Andrea are just here to tell you some of the intricacies of where you can go. Sky's the limit,
Yep.
literally, and that's not a pun. I'm really saying
Right.
that for real.
That's it. That's
Um,
it.
so before we get into like any kind of like details, I am going to ask Andrea to give us a little bit of an overview about do you want to do an overview of your company, or you want to talk about CMMI appraisals and processes? You want to give us a little snippet of that?
Yes, whatever, however, whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, yeah. So just give me a little bit of that read, and then we can hop into another couple of
Which part
questions.
about the company and what we do, or
You
the
can,
CMNI?
well, let's talk CMMI because I think they can just Google
Okay.
the company piece.
Okay. Sure. Okay. What do you want to know about CMMI? What is it?
Well, actually, let's go back a little bit because I think we're gonna mix up the question if I do it incorrectly. So, tell me
Okay.
about the consulting firm itself, and then how you outsource your management skills, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
So we don't outsource our stuff. We are an outsourced managed organization.
Corrected.
So we're yes, honey. So people outsource their business to us. They're like, we don't have the expertise. We don't want to do this. Can you come and do it for us? And so we are an outsourced managed service organization. We're an information technology management consulting firm with a focus on outsourced, managed quality compliance and cybersecurity services. So we have a customer base where, um, in order to do business with the federal government, technology related business, whether it's developing software or delivering IT services, there are credentials that you have to demonstrate that you
Right.
have. Those credentials demonstrate that your organization can function at a level of capability that is aligned with industry standards, right? So they love small businesses and mom and pop companies, but they don't want people coming in here using abacuses and writing stuff down on toilet paper. They want to
Right.
know that you can function at a certain industry level, right? So the industry standards that we have expertise in are CMMI, which stands for Capability Maturity Model. That is a standard that evaluates organizations' capability to deliver software development projects or service related projects
Okay.
or services, right? We also have a capability with the International Organization for Standardization. So we do all the ISOs, ISO 9000, ISO 20000, ISO 27000. Organizations who are looking to obtain those certifications call us and we help them prepare for that. We are also cybersecurity maturity model certification registered provider organization, and that is a designation or a credential that is given to a company where they have been vetted and approved by the entity that is managing this effort for the DoD. It's the CMMCAB. They are the overarching board, like FAA oversees
Right. Right.
aviation.
Right.
The CMMCAB oversees the CMMC effort. My company is a registered provider organization. So we have been vetted and we are credentialed to deliver the consulting and the subject matter expertise in that arena. I have a personal certification. I'm a CMMC RP registered provider. So my company is licensed to do the consulting, and I, as an individual, am also vetted to deliver any
Right.
consulting in that arena. So ISACA oversees the CMMI model. I'm licensed and credentialed with them to lead appraisals. So in order to do business with the federal government, again, you have sometimes your contract say you have to demonstrate that you are CMMI maturity level X. And companies are like, oh, how do we get there? Because it's a
Right.
whole operational, organizational process improvement effort. And they call us, we come in, we help them prepare them for it, and then I can come in and do the assessments and determine whether or not they've satisfied all of the requirements, and then that information gets sent back to ISAC and they do the final approval. Same thing with ISO. Myself and some of my partners were all certified ISO auditors, and we can go out and do that, and we work with another organization to do their certification. So that's what we do. We are and so we have contracts where companies are like, yeah, we don't want to do anything quality related, compliance related. We're outsourcing all of that to you. So we've got a couple of contracts where companies have outsourced all of that. We are their quality department from an outsourced perspective. They run their operations, they do their bread and butter. We maintain all of their credentials, we maintain their operational processes, we run their performance improvement group. The CEO and the owners are like, you guys run that, you tell us what we need to do and we'll do it. We're doing their CMMC stuff um later on. But so when I say the word outsource managed service, that's what that means. There are organizations that outsource their entire operation, a component of their operation to us, and we
Right.
manage
And
that
they look
for
for
them.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Hey.
so, and then we also do, we don't take over everybody's stuff, right? Some people just want us to come in and just do the appraisals for them and get them the credentials that they need. And so we're licensed to do those things. And so that's it. I've been doing that for many, many years, many, many
Well, I
years.
mean, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna use your services, but I will say that I'm gonna use your services. So like
Okay, there
I'm
you
not gonna
go.
say it, but I'm gonna say that I'm
Call
gonna
me,
use your services.
call me. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So we mentioned challenges faced in STEM for the
Aviation. It's the
situation
same thing
for
over here. Yeah,
same thing.
support system. You got to
Yep,
have a
support
support system.
system. So we
Yeah,
won't we
yeah,
won't deep dive into that, but y'all
right.
already know this is kind of like the same concept.
Yeah.
So educational background, how has that kind of played into your cyber piece? And I mean, you can eh,
Yeah.
expand on it as you want, but how has your background helped you in the expertise for cyber?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, with the natural progression into cyber, of course. Now, and this is, remember, I said my degree in computer science didn't really help me in aviation, but it definitely helped in
In
cyber,
cyber, yeah.
because it allowed me to be, engage in a career that was technology related, so, 25 plus years being involved in technology, of course, that opened the door for me to, move over into the cybersecurity space, as I mentioned. And I've done everything from software development to being a tester, to being a program and project manager, compliance manager, a subject matter expert. I've done business development. I write proposals. I estimate contracts. I do the costing for contracts. I did it in corporate America for years. I do it for myself now. I managed a business unit when I was still, in the corporate world, and was an executive in the corporate world. I started a consulting practice for the last company that I worked with, and immediately went from zero to, big contracts in a month, because I had that background in starting up a business. And this
Right.
company gave me the opportunity to try my hand at starting a business before I went out and started my own business. And I did that for a few years. And then, after a while, I moved out of there, and Plowright International was born. So, just having those opportunities and taking advantage of those opportunities, and just, getting just immersing myself in all kinds of things. It's good to learn to do more than one thing. Because it'd have been kind of tough for me to have run my own business if I didn't know how to write proposals, if I didn't know how to cost, estimate, an effort, if I didn't know how to actually be boots on the ground. So I tried to learn all that I could wherever an opportunity arose when I was still in the corporate world. I tried to just learn it,
Right.
and I had the opportunity to do that again, just like I said, in the cybersecurity world. I saw things from the whole big picture. because I had to understand it because I'm going in and doing compliance against the whole organization. It's the same thing when I was in the corporate world running these internal, operational improvement and quality initiatives. I had to understand how the whole business ran in order for me to go and evaluate the estimators, and for me to evaluate the BD team and make sure they were doing what they were supposed to do. I had to know what they were doing. So I was like, "Ooh, here's an opportunity for me to learn what a BD person does." And, I got opportunities to write proposals in the corporate world and all that. So, it's just, immersive, honey. We just like to learn and do all kinds of things. And
All kinds of things.
it is, it's just helped in, trying to run a business.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so
so
I think we talked a little bit about the expertise and things like that, the landscape and like businesses addressing like the situations for insider threats and things like that, IoTs. We can talk a little bit about your, oh, we also talked about your diversified career path with your management experience. So I think we can um, glaze over that a little bit. But one of the things I want to lead into is like leadership and quality management and the process improvement. If you're okay with that, we can talk about that a little bit. So, as someone deeply involved in quality management and process management initiatives, how do you balance the need for the rigorous standards like CMMI and ISO, and with the flexibility required in a fast paced IT environment, because we all know IT is ever changing. So how do you maintain the Gumby
yeah,
style?
yeah. I think it comes down to being flexible, right? You've got to be flexible. So, like I said, my career started out in consulting, right? So, a lot of times I worked in this area for 10 years and then I became a consultant. No, I came in the gate out of college as a consultant. That is very difficult.
Very.
It's very challenging to do,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because your mindset has to change. You are not a task person, right? You have tasks, but I had to come in and I learned a whole bunch of things really fast. And then somebody said, "Hey, we need you to go out here and help this customer figure it out." Huh? I'm just right out of college. How am I going to help them? So it was just a lot of reading, and reading is fundamental, and learning how to do things and just feeling confident that, I
You are
think I
a
know what I'm
subject
talking
matter
about.
expert.
I'm
Yes.
a Steve, and I had some wonderful opportunities. I'm not gonna lie. Customers allowed me to learn and grow. When you connect with people, they'll let you do things that you might not normally get the opportunity to do. Who's gonna let somebody right out of school tell them what to do? Well, you sound intelligent and it makes sense to us, so we're gonna let you do it. I
Right.
had some of that, and so just being flexible, genuinely, and I immersed myself in my craft. I'm relentless, and my husband gets on me now because I will be in a book like this, and he's like, what? It's 3 o'clock in the
It's
morning,
three o'clock in the morning.
in the night, you know. But just learning the craft and being flexible and understanding um the needs of different organizations. I mean, I've worked probably with over 50 plus organizations, and I swear I learned something new every day. Although I know CMMI and ISO and all this stuff, I like the back of my hand. I learn something new every day. I'm like, I would have never thought that. How did y'all come up with that? So you got to be flexible and be open and learning how to lead people from a place of influence versus being a harsh, divisive leader. I just and that's just my personal preference. I have found out that you can win more people with honey than you can with
Salt
sour
water. Something.
salt
Something not
water.
sweet.
You know, and listen, I have tested that theory. It's age old wisdom. I didn't come up with it. God said it first. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and respect other people, and understand that you're not the only person that knows something,
Yeah.
and
And
just
it's
genuinely
reciprocated.
interested. in what you're doing and who you're talking to, and people will be open to you. I've worked in other countries where I was the only person of color in the whole country. And I worked in Canada for a while, and it was a failing initiative.
Oh
And they
no.
had sent all these subject matter experts down to this huge application development center that the company that I worked for had acquired. And they were like, "We about to fire everybody and cut everybody's head off," because there was a huge initiative to get that application development center CMMI rated within a certain amount of time. And this was a company whose bread and butter was outsourced managed service. That's where I learned that from them,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And so all the big um uh car rental places had outsourced. Toyota, all of the car manufacturers, they ran all their IT shops for them. They're like, "We build cars, we rent cars, we don't want to do IT. Hey, company X, can you come in?" So they had those. They ran that business out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, and they had to get that center CMMI level 3, because that was how they sold the deal to all these big
Oh
corporations.
man.
And that we will demonstrate to you that we can run your IT department better, faster, cheaper, and we will solidify that with a CMMI maturity level rating within the 9 months of standing up your stuff at this application development center. Okay, well, the folks in Canada were like, "We don't answer phones at 5 o'clock. We eating, it's cultural differences. We eating dinner, right? We and everybody doing this, and it's a holiday here, and we're not."
Right.
Those people, those Yankees up north were like their heads, and so they sent me down there as a last ditch effort, and was like, "This is the
Help.
last straw." Right. And I mean, I didn't come in there yelling and screaming at people. I came in with the truth. I said, "Here's the deal. Y'all ought to be unemployed down here in Canada. And I'm here to help. And if y'all want to receive my help here, I got questioned a lot because again, I was the only person of color in that whole center,
We
but
got to
nobody
get
cared.
better.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared about that. They knew genuine authenticity. That's what they knew. And they allowed me to influence them, and we turned that thing around in about a month and a half, and they were successful, and everybody got to keep their jobs. And I came back to the U.S. and went on to the next thing. But being flexible, understanding that you're not the only person who knows something, being willing to listen to other people, and knowing how to guide people from a place of influence and from a
Right.
place of genuineness, and so
And they'll
that's
trust
just
you.
been my experience, and it's been working. So I'm gonna just keep doing it.
Right.
you
Well,
know. So
so I mean, we have definitely talked about some of the businesses that we've been either
yes,
involved in or have started, because you and I are both, those type people.
right.
So you have founded and led several businesses, including Plowright International, Plowright Fitness, and now Plowright Aviation. So, what motivated you to venture into entrepreneurship, and how did you manage the diverse nature of your businesses?
Again, I think you and I both have the same story, just the hatefulness that I encountered in the corporate world. And, I'm a person who likes to provide solutions. I don't wake up in the morning and want to play Dungeons and Dragons with hateful people all day. And that corporate world was full of that. I know it's competitive and all that kind of stuff, but I have seen some wickedness that I didn't even really know existed in the world, and I still have a heart for providing solutions. And I was like, you know what? It's enough of I can't it's a lot to actually provide a solution. But when you gotta fight, you know, squirrels and monkeys and flying dragons, because this person over here is jealous because of your hair color today and all that foolishness. I said, that's enough. That's enough. So let me get my own company. I'll still provide those solutions. I'll still, deal from a heart of compassion and genuinely listen to people and understand what it is that they need, without all of these triggers and these wicked folks on my back. So entrepreneurship, I kind of just got thrusted into it because I just, the corporate world just, and I still deal with the corporate world, but just from a different
Right.
perspective. But so it just allowed me the freedom and the flexibility to run the world the way I want to, and whoever wants to do business with my style and my leadership, they do, and whoever doesn't, they keep it moving, you know.
Right.
And so
Right.
so it's just being so that was the thing that really led me into entrepreneurship, just wanting to get out of the Dungeons and Dragon rat race, you
Right.
know.
Well,
I still
so
had it.
and I'm gonna take some of that positivity and some of the negativity and kind of like segue into a little bit of a piece where our listeners will hear that we're not saying that everyone is an entrepreneur.
Right.
It is a special figment of person that is involved in entrepreneurship. Everybody can't go into it. That's not a problem, and it's
And it's
okay.
okay.
It's
It's okay.
okay. Um, I am in entrepreneurship, but I still have a physical W-2 job that I do on my own. I have a regular 9 to 5 job. My entrepreneurship is to bring in an extra lucrative income just to satisfy some of the things that I do in my life. And because I know that there are, like Andrea has insinuated, look, we all reach some level of professionalism where they just don't support us the way that they should. And
Right.
that's okay. But it doesn't mean to stray away from corporate level world and go out and venture out and try to do your own business, because that's very taxing. It's also very it's very changing for your dynamic, and if you're not ready for it, it can leave you with a little bit of a bruise. So you don't want to go heavy handed into it.
Bruce.
It's
Listen,
expensive.
listen, I did not walk out here onto a street paved with gold. All right. There's been
It's
I've been out here on my own for
building.
almost 10 years.
It's
And
building.
it was a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of down days,
Right.
and it is not for the faint at heart, and it's fun and it's rewarding, but you don't get to stop work at 5 o'clock sometimes.
There's no clock out method.
There's
You
no
work
clock out
and you're
time.
working for you. Yes, that is
That's it.
absolutely
That's it.
right.
Sometimes,
So
and when you start out, sometimes you have to be the butcher, baker, candlestick maker, but you can't stay in that for long because you will burn out.
burnout.
And it's just anything else that people sell you unicorns and rainbows for anything. When I went to college, I'm thinking, oh, I get out and the world's going to be a great place. Wasn't unicorns and rainbows either. So we're saying all of this, and we're not saying it to deter you, and we're not telling you to go leave your job and go do it. We're just saying, like anything else in life, there's a reality factor
Yes,
that
and
kicks in.
preparation. Yes,
Yes,
preparation is a
preparation,
key,
and
man.
understand this, vacation time is on you. So you don't
Yep.
get paid vacant leave. You got to figure out how to manage your money and your finances so that you can take those vacations and things. So, it's just like anything else. You got to think through it. You need some mentorship, you need some guidance, you need support, and take the plunge if you want to,
Right.
but understand that you're going to be faced with challenges. And there might be days when you're like, oh, this was a bad idea, but
Keep going. Keep going.
keep
Don't
going.
quit. And I mean, if you have to dissolve a company and start a new one, that's a thing
That's it.
too.
There's nothing wrong with that either. It's part of the learning process. It's
And this
part
is
of the
some of the
learning
things that you
process.
won't hear from all of the big wigs that tell you to go out on
Oh,
Shark Tank and start a business. They won't tell you
right,
the truth. They tell you the glitz and glam, not the
right.
scraped knees and bruised elbows that you're going to incur doing things like this. Because unlike an actual organization that has its own yield and its own devices where you just clock in, clock out, you have to be that mechanism of everything, including the employee, for a while until you can
You do.
actually hire your own employees and scale out.
You do.
So, yeah, we're
You do.
bringing all of the
The
information,
real.
all of the real tea, so that
This is
you
the
are
real.
prepared before you go out here and fall flat. That's one thing I don't ever want to hear anybody from AWIS or anywhere from outside of our community that listens to our podcast and listens to our speaker series. We definitely want you to succeed. So this is why we're giving you the details that we're giving you. So
Yeah.
we're gonna take about two more questions, and then we're gonna cast out and fly away to the friendly skies, if you may. But looking ahead, what are your aspirations for Plowright International and your other ventures? How do you see your business evolving to meet the future challenges in IT, aviation, and even your fitness industry?
Oh,
Because
what
you
a
have that
loaded
too.
question.
I know. I'm sorry.
Question. Do things. Is that okay? Is that a good enough answer? No, no, no. The things. No, no, no. We
Oh, I
we
love
we
that.
really are focused. I'm not going squirrel all day. Trust me. I mean, we're having a good time here, but there's a huge focus and business plan. For Plowright International, we're focusing right now on all of our cybersecurity adventures. We're still doing all the CMMI and other thing and ISO stuff, but we are focusing heavily on cybersecurity and where we want to take that. The DoD CMMC thing is the next big focus. So we are your come to us for all things CMMC. Plowright Fitness is still going strong. I teach on top of, I work all day and then I teach virtual classes Monday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. So, if you want to work out with me, and you can go check out my Instagram page, Plowright Fitness, and see all the stuff we do, boot camp style workouts. We do UFC inspired MMA. We do yoga. We do all the things. We do weightlifting. It's cardio based. It's all the things. Well, I used to teach the boot camp live here in my neighborhood before the pandemic, and then we had to pivot and go virtual, and then we just stayed virtual because I just got busy in other arenas, and people like it because then I was able to bring in people from all over the world. I had family in Jamaica. I have people in North Carolina. I have all kinds of people from everywhere who join us now. So 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us, or Saturday morning, 9 to 10.
Whew,
Fun.
that's
And
Saturday
of
morning.
course,
That's Saturday morning, man. I don't know.
listen, I've
And
been inviting Amber to come to class. Every time she sees a workout video, she's like, "You crazy? Ain't nobody doing that." And I'm like, Amber, you don't have to do what all the athletes and stuff are doing. I teach, and I do. I teach people fundamentals, and you have to work your way up to that. I mean, but all those people that you see in those videos, these were everyday people who were not fitness, who were not athletes, who were not fitness enthusiasts, and they are beasts now.
and
So
look, this is coming
anyway,
from the military professional, right? Like,
right, right. How about that? You should be like, oh yeah, it's easy, let's go. Guess what? I
well,
ain't been able to get Amber to join a class yet. And so anyway, Amber, boo her, boo Amber. And then Clarkson, it's a new business, and we're going to continue with the current aviation service, buying and leasing aircraft and planes, and I'm sure more to come.
and
You
teaching
know,
Amber
what'd you say? Teach
and teaching
Amber.
Amber. Yep.
Yeah, and we gonna get Amber through her
Huh.
training. Yes, we're gonna
Please
get
get
Amber
me
through.
through it. Jesus, I need to just finish, Lord. So I mean, hey, look, I just want to ask a really quick question. Um,
Yes.
so what advice would you give young professionals, aspiring professionals, people that are changing over, things like that, seasoned professionals that really want to get into, to build their career in STEM, if they need that extra kick, that extra push, um, particularly women and in underrepresented minorities? What advice would you give them from your looking glass?
I'd say first thing, educate yourself. Arm yourself with the knowledge that you need to feel confident in whatever it is you want to do. Educate, educate, educate. Become a forever learner. Don't go, I'm out of college. I'm sick of that. I'm never going, I don't want to learn another thing. You can't do that, right? Because the landscape is changing daily, rapidly.
Yes.
So just develop a mindset that you are a forever learner. And learning doesn't have to necessarily come from a book. You can, me and Amber talk on the phone, just shooting the breeze, and we end up talking business and talking turkey and talking about different things. So, just be open and just listen for signs and clues and things that you're looking for. Find a mentor to help you through your journey. Always be open. Understand that you are not always right. Right? Nobody is always right. Join organizations that support your aspirations and maintain that work-life balance. Enjoy your life, enjoy your career. If you do
Yep.
something that you love, it will not feel like work. At least it should not feel like work. You
Should
know,
not.
so so
Yeah.
I live it becomes your lifestyle, right? So we are ever learning. Like I said, Amber and I were over at the Women in Aviation luncheon this afternoon and trying to figure out how to do some things over there on that side of the house, and then we ran over here to do this. So it's just, it's just,
Andrea's had a whole fun-filled day with Amberson. So, hey.
I'm telling you, it's been a
Yes.
day of Amber.
It's been a day of Amber, and I could not imagine a better day. So,
I'm telling you, I'm telling you.
so look,
It's been fun. It's been fun.
I know this has been the most that we've actually been able to kind of like just be amongst each other and really hop back and forth between whatever we're doing all day. So if the
Exactly.
audience hadn't figured it out by now, this is one of those things where we're talking to you, but we're also talking to each other, but we're informing you from our landscape and knowledge base so that you understand going forward how you can actually get in the game and play with us because we want some company. So
That's it. That's
um
it. We do. We
yep.
do.
So I know we kept you all for an extended amount of time, but I swear you probably gotten some of the best advice from industry personnel, industry titans that you could have possibly gotten. I mean, this information goes for thousands. And then, of course, just her giving her breadth of knowledge and telling you how to avoid spending expenditures that are out and unbeknownst to your knowledge right now. Like, this is tenfold information that you definitely need. So I hope you take this with you. I hope you watch this again. I hope you pass it to your friends. I hope you really accentuate your own knowledge base. And if you need either one of us, I'm sure the door is open. We have our LinkedIn that I'll be posting. I'll post the email on there. So if you want to get in touch with anybody, our illustrious speaker today, our previous speaker, Bandana Core, or any speaker that we have in the future, please reach out to us at our email and we will navigate that for you for sure. So, as we conclude our insightful discussion on technology and engineering, I'd like to thank my esteemed guest that I just love and adore, Andrea, for sharing her enthusiasm and her skill. And I'm going to ask her to share her parting thoughts before we end this forum. So, Andrea, reflecting on our engaging dialogue today and our extensive love for flight and cybersecurity and all things STEM. Um,
Yes, Amber.
from I snap from offering guidance to newcomers in aviation and aeronautics, delving into the intricate world of cybersecurity and audits, and emphasizing the importance of risk management, identifying the gaps for security, adhering to cybersecurity, looking at regulation and policy, looking at legal standards, to exploring forefront or of the actual cybersecurity advancements. Can you share with our audience a final takeaway, if you please?
Sure, yes, ma'am. Listen, let me tell you again, thank you for the invitation. It has been a thrill and a pleasure. Thank you, thank your listening audience for joining us. And again, I apologize with Amber that we went over the time, but I hope that you guys have been able to take something away from this that was more than just a superficial TED talk. I hope you guys were able to take some things away that you can actually implement. And let me just say this: life is a journey. Enjoy every minute of it. And as I mentioned before, if you love your career choice and the work that you do, it should never, ever feel like work. And I want you guys to develop a mindset, if you don't already have it, and think of yourself as a solution provider. You are not just an employee at a job doing a
Yes.
task. You were created for a specific purpose, and part of your purpose is providing solutions to those that need those solutions. And I want you to promise to never, never, never allow anyone to kill your dreams or dim your light. The world is a better place with you in it. We need you, as Amber said. We need you. We need your gifts and your talent and your God given purpose.
Yes.
So, love to all
Hallelujah.
of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Amber, thank you for having me. Again, it's been a pleasure. I'm thrilled about your vision for the women in STEM, and I'm rooting you on. Don't call me no more, Amber. Don't call me.
Tomorrow.
Call me. Don't call me anytime soon. But no, I'm just kidding. But all the best to you and everything that you are doing in that organization. And I'm here for you.
Oh, we're gonna do some collab, man. We talked about it
Yeah,
offline, but we're gonna do some collaboration with women in aviation. We're gonna get some people into these planes, these cockpits. We're gonna do some science and tech.
yeah,
We're gonna do some things. So,
yeah, yeah,
so yes, as I bring this session to a close, I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to Andrea for her invaluable contributions and insights shared with us today, especially her perspective on aviation and the sector alongside cybersecurity. To our audience, we trust that today's conversation has not only been illuminating for the complex and vital nature of cybersecurity in our contemporary landscape, but also sparking an interest in the fascinating field of aviation and encouraging you to either take flight on this new journey or navigate your existing course with renewed passion and insight. So, please look for our next STEAMM speaker series. Details are coming soon. I'm going to post on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere you might see. And I'm going to start posting some endeavors on YouTube as well. Please turn on notifications. Please subscribe to our channel. Please like this, comment on it. If you have questions that we did not answer, please comment under our comment section here, and we will go in and we'll actually do a response for you if you have specific questions, or if you want to reach out to us individually because you're just too shy to do it on the comment section. Please email us at awisdc@gmail.com. So, without further ado, um, please look for our next speaker series. We would love to leave a digital footprint, as well as looking forward to the soaring in the endless skies. And I am Ambericent Cornett alongside with our remarkable guest and new AWISDC friend, Andrea Plowright. And together, we are empowering women in science, one discovery at a time. Ciao now.
bye, guys.